My sister handed me the ugliest dress at her wedding, but she didn't know someone was watching. My name is Brooke, and when I arrived at my sister's wedding, I thought the worst thing that could happen was being embarrassed in front of 200 guests. I was wrong. The worst thing wasn't the dress. It wasn't the whispers. It wasn't even the lies. The worst thing was realizing my family had spent years rewriting my life, while I was too busy loving them to notice. And by the end of that night, one woman would expose everything. But before I tell you how a wedding fell apart in front of an entire ballroom, you need to understand how it started. I've always been the responsible daughter, the dependable one, the daughter who showed up. When something broke, I fixed it. When someone needed help, I helped. When my grandmother became sick and needed full-time care, I moved my entire life around to take care of her. My younger sister Sloane was different. She was charming, beautiful, the kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly become the center of attention. People loved her, especially our mother. Growing up, Sloane was the golden child. I was the backup plan. If Sloane succeeded, everyone celebrated. If I succeeded, everyone expected it. Eventually, I stopped fighting for attention and focused on building my own life. I put myself through college, worked nights, earned my engineering degree, built a career, started a business. I was proud of what I'd accomplished. I just didn't realize someone else was claiming credit for it. 3 weeks before the wedding, Sloane sent me a text. Bridesmaid number 8. That was it. No excitement, no warmth, no can't wait to see you. The time, I ignored it. I wish I hadn't. The wedding took place at a luxury vineyard owned by the groom's family. Everything looked perfect. Flowers everywhere, string lights, champagne, expensive smiles, the kind of wedding people post online with captions about fairy tales. The morning of the ceremony, I arrived at the bridal suite. 7 bridesmaids were already there. All of them wore matching lavender gowns, beautiful gowns, elegant, custom-fitted. Then Sloane looked at me and smiled. Your dress is in the room down the hall. I walked into a small side room. A garment bag hung alone. Inside was the ugliest dress I had ever seen. Bright orange, 3 sizes too large, cheap fabric, wrong style, wrong color, wrong everything. At first I thought there had been a mistake. There wasn't. When I asked Sloane about it, she shrugged. It was the only one left. The only one left. I believed her. For about 5 minutes. Then I noticed 2 extra lavender dresses hanging in the bridal suite. One was my exact size. The orange dress wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. And everyone knew it. My mother told me to stop being dramatic. My aunt rolled her eyes. The bridesmaids looked away. Nobody said a word. So I pinned the dress together with safety pins and wore it. What else was I supposed to do? I kept telling myself it was one day. Just survive the day, smile, take pictures, go home. That was the plan. Ceremony started. 7 lavender bridesmaids walked down the aisle. Then me. The orange dress stood out like a warning sign. Guests stared. The photographer kept moving me farther and farther from every group picture. Eventually he stopped including me at all. Nobody objected. Not even my family. And that's when I started noticing something strange. The groom's grandmother kept watching me. Not with pity, not with judgment, with curiosity, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. At the reception, things got worse. I overheard Sloane talking to relatives from the groom's side. She was telling stories. Stories about putting herself through college. Stories about becoming an engineer. Stories about building a successful business. Stories about caring for our grandmother during her final years. There was only one problem. Those weren't her stories. They were mine. Every single one. She had stolen my entire life. My education, my career, my sacrifices, my grief. And she was presenting them as her own. I confronted her privately. Then she looked at my orange dress and smiled. Nobody is going to believe you. That sentence stayed with me because she wasn't wrong. The dress had done exactly what it was designed to do. It made me look ridiculous before I ever spoke. It turned me into the unreliable sister, the jealous sister, the dramatic sister, the perfect scapegoat. Later, I learned something even worse. My family had been telling people I was unstable, that I struggled with life, that I couldn't handle success, distant because of personal problems. Meanwhile, Sloane was presenting herself as a self-made hero of the family. I wanted to leave. I really did. I even walked toward the exit. Then the groom's grandmother stopped me. She looked me directly in the eyes and said something strange. You should stay for the speeches. Then she walked away. I had no idea why, but something about her certainty made me stay. And thank God I did, because everything changed during the toasts. While guests settled into their seats, I accidentally picked up my mother's phone. The screen lit up. A family group chat appeared. I shouldn't have looked. I did anyway. What I found made my stomach drop. Messages, screenshots, plans, proof, weeks of conversations. They had chosen the orange dress together. They had instructed the photographer to hide me. They had discussed how to make me look insignificant, how to make Sloane look superior, how to ensure nobody would take me seriously. Every humiliation had been planned. Every detail. Every moment. I sat there staring at the screen, and suddenly everything made sense. The dress, the seating arrangement, the lies, the whispers. The entire day had been staged. I could have exposed them immediately. I could have stood up and read every message out loud. But I didn't. Because I knew exactly what would happen. They would call me dramatic. They would say I ruined the wedding. They would turn themselves into victims. So I stayed quiet. Then the speeches began. The grandmother stood up. The room went silent. Everyone watched her. She walked directly past the head table, past the dance floor, past the bride and groom, and stopped beside me, the woman in the orange dress. She sat down next to me, took my hand, and asked a simple question. Did you care for your grandmother during her illness? Yes. Did you earn the engineering degree? Yes. Do you own the company? Yes. That was all. 3 questions, 3 answers. No drama. No yelling. No accusations. Just facts. Then she turned toward the room and calmly explained everything she had discovered. She had already investigated. She had already checked. She already knew the truth. The nursing story belonged to me. The degree belonged to me. The business belonged to me. The sacrifices belonged to me. Not Sloane. Me. The room froze. The groom froze. My mother froze. My sister looked like she couldn't breathe. Then the groom asked the question that changed everything. Did you lie to me? Silence. The kind of silence that feels dangerous. Because everyone already knows the answer. Sloane tried to deny it. Then more lies surfaced. Debt, loans, financial problems. More deception. One by one the walls came down. The perfect image she'd built started collapsing. And for the first time all day, nobody was looking at me. Eventually Sloane grabbed her dress and walked out. The ballroom watched her leave. Nobody followed, not even my mother. The wedding never recovered. The celebration ended. The marriage never happened. And I drove home that night, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, while the orange dress sat folded in the passenger seat. For hours I stared at it, thinking, realizing, understanding. That dress was never about fashion. It was a message. A message from people terrified that someone might notice the truth. Because the people who work hardest to make you look small are usually the ones most afraid of being compared to you. The wedding didn't ruin my life, it revealed it. And for the first time in years, everyone finally saw me exactly as I was. Not the dramatic sister, not the difficult daughter, not the problem. Just the truth. And sometimes the truth is all you need, especially when someone powerful is finally willing to pay attention.